Welcome to the second session of the lighting mentorship program. Last time, like we discussed about everyone can hear, right? Like everyone, yeah, like everyone can see the screen, and yeah. So last time we discussed about like elements of visual depth. Okay, so like everyone has seen like the first session, or like because in first session we covered like pool of lights in the elements of visual depth, and what exactly is visual depth, and we talked about it. So we'll start with like remaining points of visual depth, like overlapping, fog, ground shadows, depth of field, scale and position. We'll be covering these today. uh, I don't think so we'll be having more time for perspective and other things, because these are like we have a lot of things to cover in both the sections. And even eye movement is something which is quite complicated in terms of we have to learn different principles of design to make this happen, the eye movement happen. So even that, like I think I'll be covering eye movement the last, because we have to cover around like 12 principles for design, and then we'll be able to make this happen. Like it is not like one thing which helps to make eye movement. So yeah, let's start upon the overlapping first. Okay, so this will be our first topic, like how we can get visual depth through overlapping. When two objects overlap, we tend to feel there is a depth, and that is the concept we are going to discuss. And so we'll start with overlapping, and we finished pool of lights last time. And okay, so what do you see here? Like there are two objects, one is a ball and one is a lamp, but then we don't know like which one is in front and which one is back. So we cannot understand like, oh yeah, this ball is behind the lamp or lamp is behind the ball. Can you people tell what is behind and what is in front actually? Yeah, obviously. I want you people to speak out, so it is better. Yeah, I understand like there'll be more noise if you put on all the mics, but then yeah, if you people can reply to what I'm asking, it will be like much better way to, yeah.
Ball is in the front, right?
Okay, you say ball is in the front,
Yeah.
and yeah, someone will say the lamp is in front, but then say your ball is in behind.
Okay.
Sorry, but then yeah, it is because this is just about layering, right? I just layered it behind. That's why it went behind. It could have been in front, because you might be right, because this point is like down, right? Like this line. So, but then see the difference between this image and this image. You can directly say that no, this ball is behind and not in front, or like no, they are not in the same like distance from us. So this is a visual depth concept where you, when you overlap one object over the other, you can directly feel there is some depth. Even this is a 2D image, you can actually feel that no, this is in front and this is going behind. I guess everyone understands this concept, right? Like when
Yeah,
the things
yes,
are
yes.
overlapped, you see there is a depth. And hi Pujita, we are in the last lesson, Pujita.
Hi. Okay.
Yeah, just kidding. Okay, we just started with the
Yeah, I know.
elements of
I
design.
heard you saying yeah.
Okay, I just so
But
basically.
I wanted to ask you something, one more thing that
Mhm.
this is like the lamp has an outline. So actually, I found the lamp to be ahead even in the first picture. I don't know.
Okay,
I see it that way. Like
the
because of
yeah,
the outline, is it?
yeah, there is a outline for the lamp, just that then illustration is different. Yeah, it is a the illustration with the outline, and this one doesn't have an outline. Just don't consider that. Just take it as two objects. Okay. Yeah, it is nothing to do with outline. So we are talking about like now when there are
Got
two
it.
objects and when they are not overlapping, it is very difficult for us to understand that which one is in front and which one is. So our eyes and brain are uh, arranged in a certain way that we uh, always want to solve the problem. When we see something, our eyes try to solve the problem between like no how is this is in front or that is in front. And that's why when we give our like no eyes and brain this calculation, when something is overlapping, we exactly know that this lamp is in front and ball is in behind. So this concept is like very simple, but then that overlapping works so much in favor of the depth part that you can directly feel there is some depth between two objects, and here you cannot feel that, and you are like you're totally confused about what is happening here. So let's move to the examples of it now. Okay, so yep, so we have these different examples now. So okay, so we see here like you see these two girls are running. Now it is very difficult to know who is going to win the race, who is in front and who is behind. Here we say might be this girl is in front, but maybe she's in front. See her knees is on like a little bit in front. We feel that. So it is very tough for us to know like who is in front. But then we see this one. They are almost in like sometimes we feel this guy is in front, but then only because his hand is overlapping, he's in front. Makes sense, right, for you people?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like just that small overlapping, how it helps. See, if this was not overlapping, you would have seen like this guy is in front. We can feel that he's in front, but then he's not because he's overlapping. So definitely he's in front. So we understand like where he is, who's in front. In this case, we don't know who is in front, and as a artist, we should know that overlapping will help us a lot in a depth. So this is one of the visual depth element. Here we see like that example of like no, we don't know where this girl or lady who is running, but then we know exactly the position of these three people somewhere. Maybe we don't know about these two, but we know that this guy is behind these two, and we know like this guy is behind this, and again he is behind everyone. So then we have one more example. Most of the part it is really good when you see here that these objects are in front of the sofa or whatever sitting furniture is there here. Then we see all this. We know like where they are situated. This is in front of this, and we can make out. But there is some problem over this one. We cannot know like where exactly this is placed, or even this one. I would say like this one is like very difficult to understand where exactly. Like it may be in front of this one, it may be behind. We don't know, and this is not a very good way of doing layouts. When you do like no, when you put the props in a certain way that we don't know where exactly they are, and this is exactly wrong thing to do, because you are so confused, and the viewer will be so confused where it is. We'll try to solve our brain will try to solve the equation where exactly this object is situated. And that's why we feel that no, he's that object is just floating somewhere and we don't know, maybe it is not the part of this image or something like that. So this is not something we should do. When we want visual depth to happen, our eyes and brain should be able to calculate, and it should be very simple for our brain to understand where this object is situated, so we can feel the depth. Now it is like it is sometime coming in front, it is going back. So yeah, so you understand like what is the problem when you don't overlap things. If this was overlapped, if it has gone behind this, we would have known very easily. that this thing is behind. That you need to simplify image to the audience so that they can quickly understand it and they will feel the depth, and overlapping helps in that. Okay, see this example. uh Maybe I missed on something. Okay, yes, I just missed on something. I just switch up this one. I don't like this something. Okay, anyways, if you see this image, uh, see they have done overlapping of the character with the whatever seat it is there over to the background, and they have also used the value here, like the values are dark of the object over the lighter background. So this overlap help us to like uh, differentiate between this character with the background, and that's why we get the depth happening. We also can see some of the fog which is happening here. We'll talk about it uh, when we talk about fog. Just give me a second. Maybe I just missed out on something which. Okay, and then maybe just I made a mistake with the layering. Sometimes it's so tough. Okay, I'll just move on to. Okay, maybe this one is better. I just will not check. Okay, yeah, much better. So we saw this image where we can see that fog and the value which is different to the foreground element, and this object is overlapping, and that's why we can feel that depth which is happening between two with the background and the character. Okay, now this example we can see, like, there are both the example when there is no overlapping happening, the chair is not overlapping, and then when the table is overlapping on the chair. So it is easy for us to find out that this is behind and this is in front, but somewhere this is not that good. But then there are other things which helps us to understand, like where it is placed. That, like, for example, this car shadow helps us to understand where exactly this object is placed. So this overlapping helps. There are two examples of overlapping versus non-overlapping objects. See here, the finger is like being overlapped by the flower. So it's a somewhat like a macro photography which is here, and we can find out the scale. Like sometimes the overlapping helps in the scale of the object. So if this finger was not overlapping, like the flower was not overlapping the finger, we should have not be able to make out like whether the finger is in front, like it is near to the camera, that's why it's big and something like that. But now when this object, the flower, is overlapping on the finger, we know that this is the scale. Also it helps us to resolve, like like the finger is so big and the flower is small. So overlapping can help you in scale also sometimes. Then this is a small example where, like, there are two objects. There is a flower which is kept on the uh, knitted wool, Also, like there is difference in value between this is like very bright object and this is little darker object, and then overlapping can help you in like no having that contrast happening, and that's why you can feel the difference between two objects. So we have two examples here of like yeah. So these are like two couples over here. So one couple is like they have distance between them, and you cannot actually resolve too much like who is in front and behind unless you see that ground. So it is little tough, and it is not that interesting also to see like no two objects kept like that. So it is always better to have overlapping happening, and it is much more interesting. And we directly know this girl is in front and behind, and that's why it is much more interesting for an audience to see that they have a nice depth, and then overlapping always help in. There is one more point I feel like when we talk about overlapping is about the connection between two objects or two people. So when something is overlapping on another thing, for example here, as I was talking about the scale, this robot is actually very small compared to the character, but just that it is overlapping, we can make out that he's in front. A little part which is overlapping, the hand of the robot is just overlapping a bit, and we can make out that he's in front. And also there's one point which I always feel that like when these two objects are overlapping each other, there is some connect between two objects, two characters, or like same thing here. You can feel that like, there is some connect between two people, and we miss that connect between two people here. So somewhere like in storytelling, I think overlapping will help us to emote that emotion where we feel that there is some connection between two characters. Here there is one more example, and I think this example is very nice when we don't have that option of overlapping one character or another. If you see like she's going behind, like there is no way he can overlap because of the staging, the layout, how it has happened. But then the third character helps in connecting both the character, and that's why we have this emotional bonding between all these character which is happening. So there may be some times you might have a problem where like no these are like the angle is such you are not able to show that connect to both the characters. Maybe there is some overlapping object which can help to connect, like it is just like no you can show that connect or two of two people. Also that visual depth element, like he's overlapping the girl, he's showing that like he's in front, and again this guy is overlapping the smaller character, we know he's in front of that phone. So we see one, two, and three layers of objects happening with the depth. So yeah, any question on overlapping? I think we have covered overlapping as an example. I think this is fairly simple to understand. I think there should be no doubts in this one. Can we move forward in the next topic?
It's
Yeah,
understood.
yeah, it's it's very simple actually. So uh, let's move on to fog. Okay, so how a fog can help us to like show depth. So we see two objects with similar values, and they're just like no, now they're overlapping. Now there is a problem. When it is overlapping, they tend to blend between each other, and that's why like thing like fog can help us. Like as the distance goes, like no, there is more and more fog which is happening, and that separation of the object can happen, and you can feel the depth between the two objects instead of you don't know what is happening here. So okay, so we have like a lot of example of fog here, and I was actually Now, when I was preparing this, like I was so amazed with the fog, what is happening, and how beautiful the fog can be. And see here, this is like similar. Like I'm not saying this is same PG, but this is similar kind of setup of the environment, where like that there are two mountains kind of thing which is happening here. Here there are actually three, but then see here there is no fog actually, and that a feel of depth is less in this image and it is more in this image because there is a gradual fog buildup which is happening here. We did talk about this in like the painting where the fog was building up, and this is how you the viewer can actually relate to the old experiences where he sees that the far objects will be having more fog on top of it. So the fog is something which is a part of environment. So uh, what happens is like the fog is actually water particles which are in the air, and then the overlapping of the water particle one over the other will like give you some opacity over top, like a layer of that mist thing which happens on top. And that's why like no when it like you have like no more layers of mist and it goes and becomes more opaque, so that fog buildup happens. So it is like that intensity is here also, just that nearby place there are less layers, like say like 10 layers of mist, but then here it becomes like 1,000 layers of mist. That's why like that opacity builds up. So but then what happens, why that fog? It's just because of the light is dispersing between the water particles, and that's why we have that fog. This is an example where like similar to this, where the fog is building up. But I just wanted to show like we see these rays of light happening like somewhat like disco lights I see sometimes in the air. Uh, you must have seen that actually. That phenomena I like to show. So I selected this image. Here, same thing. Here we can see like there are characters, and then fog is building up as we go far. Like it's more clear here, and then slowly the fog is building up until a point we cannot see anything. So this gives like really nice depth. Also, what you will feel, this like the water and color is like more saturated here. See, this is more saturated color, and then if when you go like little far and far, it is slowly becoming desaturated. It is just because of the distance. What happens? The fog builds up, and the environment plays a role where it is like the fog will actually take the color of the environment, like the sky color and all, the light color, and then it actually washes out the colors which are like impacted by the behind objects. So it becomes desaturated. So there is a washout effect which happens, and it shows like a desaturation, and that's why we feel that depth. So one of the point like that saturation is a thing which is affected by the fog, and always when there is a distance, the change in saturation will happen, and that's how we set that depth, and fog helps us in doing that. This is a similar kind of example when there is a fog and when there is no fog. It's the same BG, just that or same setup you can say. But here we say like there is almost like no fog, and here like lot of fog. So it adds a lot of interest in the image when you add fog. Also, fog will help you in these dark areas, which happens. So what is happening here? Okay, so just see. So yeah. So whenever there is some things like no, there are some dark areas in your image and all, and when you're facing this, the fog can help you to fill out that. So in comp, you can go and add some fog onto the image, and then that problem will be solved. Then we'll move to the next image. This is very nice image. I selected because I liked it how it is placed. See, if this the animal is supposed to be like a character in the scene, the fog helps in like no differentiating between the character and the BG. So the fog is always used in doing that. Even in the movies, it happens. So fog helps us to even differentiation between the subject and the background. Okay, there is one more kind of fog actually, and this is more like a height fog, which happens in real world. As we go to the heights, like that, it will go into clouds, right? The cloud is like also a fog, and cloud is also like there are water droplets, the similar thing. So it becomes like a fog on top. So there is less fog on like when it is down, and when you go on top, it builds up. It becomes fog here. So the fog can help you in determining the height of the object, like where it is located. Then we have this example of fog rays. These we say is like no, somewhat like God rays or like sun rays. So it is what like how the fog will uh, behave when the sun is there, and we get these rays. But then there is one factor that you will see more fog on when like the rays are moving away from the camera. So towards the camera you will not see much of fog because of that. As you know, right, like the how the reflection work, like as we go like away from the camera, the object angle goes away from the camera, there is more reflection which will take place. As it is facing more towards the camera, the less the reflection. This is the same phenomena. You cannot see much of the fog rays here, even though there is a light here. There is not much of fog, like it's not building up that much. But then when it goes away from the camera, these fog rays are like more intense. It has more opacity actually. So this is something to do with the camera, like how we view the fog. Then the light is actually reflecting on the like on the water particles which is there in the fog. And this is the same thing which is happening here. As we move away from the camera, there is less fog which is happening. There is a fog here, but just that we cannot see it. The angle is such. So whenever you want to put fog, you should understand that it will not build up near like in front of you because of the angle. And we try to put fog in com, that we should take care that the fog is in such a manner that how realistically it works. And here also there is fog. Now this fog is more related to the climate. So when it is too cold, the fog will be there again. It is just because when it is winter and you have this cold climate, there are more water droplets in the environment and it becomes foggy. We also talk about like there is some pollution fog also, but that is completely different thing. And I haven't researched about how the pollution fog works. But I don't think so. We are going to make any time like pollution fog, or sometime maybe. I have no idea right now. But anyone can research upon how the pollution fog happens, though. I think the mist is built up for some reason when there is more pollution. Maybe maybe just that polluted air maybe like more heavier and it moves up, something like that. I have no idea right now. Then there is this pattern what you see in the underground fog. Also, this fog helps us to understand there is some caustic which is happening. even though we just see some part of the caustic over here, but then other fog rays help us to determine that there is some caustic which is happening. So it can support you in like lighting also, like just the fog rays and not where it is happening. Like you don't see the patterns, but you see that happening of the patterns due to these fog rays. And this example, I like this shot a lot though. So you see there is a glow which is happening here. So glow also is a part of fog actually, and because there are some particles which will reflect light towards you, which is like when the nearby objects will have more uh, light receiving, like nearby for water droplets will have more light receiving capability because of the distance, and then it is like reflecting towards your eye, and that's why you feel that glow. So I think glow is also a part of fog or mist. And then we have this a different scenario that fog is in the morning, and it can be also be treated as like no something which is really nice and fresh. That fog can give you that feeling because when you get wake up in the morning and you see this fog happening and it's very refreshing, and then those memories you can relate to this kind of images, and you feel that oh yeah, this image is like no early morning, it is very fresh, and you can use that for that reason. This is a similar example where there is this mist which is happening and you feel you have a very nice feeling for this image because of that. As we saw that in the height fog, now just because of this fog builder we can feel that this is a very big breach. If it was without the, like if you remove the mountain and everything, just keep the bridge and then you don't know what scale it is, but just because of the fog you can feel that scale of the object which is happening. So it can help you in the scaling of the object. So if you have a like no a big monster, so you can have some fog layers coming onto the monster so that you know like that monster is so big that the fog is affecting him gradually when he goes towards his head or something like that. And then we'll move to, and then we'll just move to the next example. uh, Sorry. Yeah, so these are some of the very nice example. This is like a more creepy kind of setup. You can use fog to show something which is scary, the horror genre, like no, when you want to shoot something with something which is scary or a horror, you can make use of fog to show that. Why fog? Because if you see here, like there is some, you can see the details and you know what is happening here. But then as you go forward, like no, there is something uncertainty which you can feel about the like no, we don't know what is going to happen after this. That's why we are like we'll have those emotion like no, there's something which is maybe we are not sure about. Maybe there is some monster who is hiding here, we don't know. That's why like this will help us in storytelling when there is a horror genre that name you can show that uh, we don't know what is behind this, and maybe there is a ghost or someone who can anyhow come from this fog. This is just like I put it because I felt like this is a very nice composition which is done with the fog, and you have this fall off which is happening. And basically, I just felt that this is a very nice image somewhere, and you can see the fog buildup which is happening here. And this character is highlighted because there is a fog background which is happening behind him. Anyone can tell what this is? Okay, maybe everyone slept. Okay, anyways, so these are like just god rays which is happening from the top. We just called it god rays because maybe it is coming from heaven, as they say. So these are god rays. There is one more factor of the fog, which is like the fog will tend to take the color of the light, as we discussed that it is a water particles, and then obviously the skylight is reflecting on the fog particles and is becoming blue. And similarly, sun rays, sunlight will fall on the water particles and it will reflect to its color like yellow, orange, or white. So that's why that color difference you can see here. So that's why like you should understand that like when it goes far away, there is more fog buildup. The blue is reflecting into that, and it like it blends into blue. And somewhere like the original color of the tree is like missing when it goes behind. It's no more like orange or brown. It is just gone like dark blue or black. It is because of that. I felt this was very nice image. There is this composition of the tree which is happening and the character which is standing, and there is some uncertainty. There is something, and this character is going to move into this fog somewhere, and he's waiting for the journey. And this is how like the fog can help you in storytelling. There is this character, and there is this mist which is built up, and character wants to go somewhere, and you'll be very curious what is there behind. No, that's how the fog can help you in storytelling. This image just a normal photograph, and you can see the fog which is happening behind, and the character separation happens. The fog is also an element which is always used by cinematographers and photographers to actually add some drama. It will also add some depth because of its quality. It See, there is some fog rays which is happening uh, when light is bouncing onto it. And he's a photographer. He's actually making that fog. So there are like fog machines and different techniques to make the fog. So usually, in when they shoot, if there is some scene they want to create that misty effect, they will use fog as a tool. Yeah, I think so. I'm done with the fog. Any questions people have?
No questions.
Okay.
Um, I have question about the. You told me that when rays come towards the camera, it doesn't show the fog rays about the fog rays.
Yeah. So it does show, but it is not that. It is just because how the reflection work. Like if you see, if there is an object, for example, uh, do you know about Fresnel effect actually? Like if there is a sphere, at the center of the sphere there will be like no less reflection, but it goes away from the camera. The reflection, it is more reflective. Understand that actually? Um, it's a Fresnel effect. I hope I find some. See, yeah, this one. See, when it is facing the camera, maybe this is not the exact what I wanted to show, but then it is somewhere near. For example, mm, Okay, I don't get an exact example because more of the chrome ball will have like no almost same reflection. But if you can see this image, like when it is in the center, it's towards the camera. The when the object is facing, like the polygon is facing you, like the camera directly, the reflection will be less, and that is how in real world you can actually watch the things whatever is around you which is reflective. It will be more reflected towards the edges actually. Why the edges? Because then it is facing the light. See, this light is like it is facing the light, that's why it will light or any bright object, so that reflection will be more when it is coming towards you. you know that angle will play a big role in how reflecting that object will be. So in reality always that this point will be more less reflective, and this point will be more reflective, because just because the facing angle of this face, objects facing angle. That's why like when it is similar thing which happens in the fog, because there are some particles but then that facing angle is very different. If say like there is a one big drop of particle here, for example, if I can just draw something here. So so if there is a big particle of fog over here, oh, yeah, here it will actually see the light will be backlighted, right? Almost like backlighted, like it is not able to receive light in front. You got it right. Like it will be more like sorry. Like the light will be hitting like this on the sphere here. So it will be hitting here. So like you don't see that reflection a lot. But then there is a water droplet here, and then there is a more chance for the water droplet to receive more light. So it will be reflecting light somewhere like this. So just because of that angle, when the object is here and there is a backlit which is happening, the amount of light which is it is receiving is less. But when it is going this side, the sphere, it will receive more light, and then it goes there, it will receive more light. So that's why this fog will reduce, because the particle won't be reflecting much light when it is in front of you. You got it? Or any question on this one? They are very small, but then there are many, right? I'm just showing you a bigger version of a droplet, how the light will be receiving. The reflection will be less because we are not facing like no that uh, the light falling area will be less when it is just between us and the light source. The camera is here, right? We are here and we are shooting there. But then when the droplet come here, the light facing will be more, and that's why that fog buildup will be more as we go forward. Like that's it. It was a good question because I know this was the something which is little difficult to even explain, but then everyone got like why it is so. Or any questions on this one?
No questions.
Okay. Yeah. So anyone has more question on the fog part? Whatever. I'm sorry.
You can move on to next one, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah. I'm just. Yeah. We'll just move on to ground shadows now. Okay. So ground shadows. See this object. They are placed. This one is behind somewhere because of overlapping. We can see even this character is here, and this lamp is here, ball is here, but then we don't know exactly where they are situated, where they are placed actually. That's why our brain is not able to understand the depth between these objects. So ground shadows are like very important thing. Now you suddenly feel there is some depth, right? Because of the shadows. Because these shadows are helping us in defining the ground plane. The ground plane is like that. You can see this is in front, that shadow, then behind, then this shadow is in front, and then behind. That helps us to understand that where they are placed exactly in the 3D depth. So if you compare this image to this image, definitely you can feel that. So that's why when you are actually even composing, don't compose something like this. Okay, try to compose something like that. Like when you see the ground shadows, try to have the ground shadows happening in your scene, like where you can see the ground plane and the shadows have been casting. So the will play a lot of good role in like to place those objects, place those camera angle where you can actually see the ground shadows, and that's why it will help you in actually showing the position of the object plus how the ground plane is. So visually, we can calculate that there is some depth in this image because of that. So as I said, don't make any composition which is cutting and we don't see the ground. It is always better for like these feet has a ground. If we do some composition like that, we don't know like what is the distance between two objects, and that's why it is better for us to show the ground. So when we are showing the ground, we can show the cast shadow, and when we show the cast shadow, we can feel the depth which is happening. Let's move on to the examples of this. And there, like, see here, this image, we can see the shadow of the object which is falling here, and then it is falling on the behind wooden wall or something like that, which is there. So we can actually make out that no, this object is in front, and then there is a cast shadow here, which is on behind. It is on the down thing. It will give a sense of space actually when the cast shadow is there, and that's why you will feel that depth. Always that cast shadow helps. Even we add some if there is a text, we add some shadow, and then you suddenly feel that this is coming on top and the shadow is behind. So this is how it helps. And ground shadows also help, like even this is like not on the ground, but then still like as it is a ground shadow, it's like or a cast shadow or ground shadow we can say. It is also helping us in like defining the shapes in a different angle, because the light is there, and it will add some visual interest to the image when you use a shadow in a very nice way. So it will obviously, if you have a visual shapes which is happening, it will actually add an extra dimension. So in that terms, like the shadows can play a big role in the visual depiction of the objects, or no, how the if see for example this frame, she is situated here and she's completely off, she's not in the center, so automatically there is no balance. But then just because of this shadow which is happening, you can feel that balance is happening. It is this object is balanced by the shadow. This is an interesting example of how the shadow is used to like trick your mind. So in the night, in the morning we don't see this effect, but then in the night there is some pole or a light lamp post, and you feel like he is actually like spreading these stars on the ground or something like that. So shadows can be used to do some creative stuff. This one is like a tricky example of shadow, where you feel like the shadows are actually the objects and the objects are like more like shadows, like So you can feel that this is taken from the top. So this is like quite interesting way to show shadows, and shadows can become like a creative part. I think as a shadows, like no, it's not very difficult to understand like why the shadows are important. Just if this soft shadow was near this, you could have felt that he's not flying. Now the coconut is flying because the shadow is here. So shadows help us to understand the distance actually from the ground plane. So that's how that depth things happen. I like this image. It's a example of shadow versus reflection. So reflection works in a different way and the shadow works in a different way. So even though like reflection is a part of light, but it is a different component of light. So the reflection will be totally based on the angle of the surface, angle of the viewer, but the shadow will completely depend upon the position of the light. So if I move that side, the shadow will be still here, but the reflection will turn that side. So the shadow will be still here, reflection will be. So it's like reflection is like a reflection is a reflection of light actually, and the shadow is blocking of the light. So these are like two different concept. So we can actually see the reflection which is happening because it is able to reflect the surrounding over here, and the blocking which is happening uh, because the light is not reflected in this area, the sunlight is not reflected in this area, why the shadow is created. So the shadow is something like yeah, tell me, Pujita.
Yeah, so actually, I have. I don't know if it's a good example for shadowing,
Hmm.
but sometimes that I've seen noticed it even in movies and like Zootopia and even for like Tom and Jerry, that
Hmm.
they try to depict shadow in such a way to make the character feel larger in life. So you actually see the shadow first, which is quite large, and then the character comes out to be tiny. Is that a good example for shadowing? Like what?
Shadow, I think it is just the storytelling element. We can talk about it actually, how the shadow can help you in many ways. For example, see these objects are like tiny, right? Compared to they are not that scale.
Okay.
This is the same thing, right? What is happening here? Mm,
Hmm.
like the scale of the character is not that big, but then the shadow is so big. Maybe we have some example I can show you after this. Yeah, not here, but then yeah, obviously, uh, sometimes that uh, like big shadow can help you to show that like no, it is just like about how that character is actually as a big stature. Like no, he's a like it has a more he has a more impact. That's why they show that the shadow is
Hmm.
like little bigger and that they have more impact, and that can be used for the storytelling. They have used for the storytelling
But
purpose.
I think that adds also a fun element saying that, that or that monster or that villain is quite big and it comes out to be tiny. So it just adds
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
fun
I actually
element to
I
the.
don't remember that shot what you're talking about, but then I can understand that if someone is like shown like very big and like everyone
Right.
is scared, and then you see that tiny thing, I think yeah, that is also there.
Mm,
That is a fun element. I think it's all about storytelling. We are also talking about this place,
right.
right? Like it's like a fun
Yeah.
thing. It's not reality,
Mm,
but then it is presented in that way. There you will find like a lot of creative examples. See this example is so creative. Like there is a cast shadow and
yeah.
someone has actually gone and drawn that thing. What is that? Uh,
Spaceship.
spaceship. Yeah,
Spaceship.
spaceship. I'm trying to remember what it is. And yeah, spaceship, and see how that like the light is playing that part.
Yeah.
Like, it's very interesting. So you can do all those things. Well, let's come into the emotional part of the shadow casting. See this guy, he's like no, he's not very sure. His expression is like no, he's not very is bit disturbed person, what we can say. And the shadow, I don't know whether they have done it intentionally or not, but then you said that no, the shadow is not perfect. It's a little bit vague, and it helps in that story of his that there is some problem which is happening, and that he's not having something which is very strong about him. And then there is this example. I can say that this is very successful image in terms of what it has shown here. This example, somewhat successful, somewhat not for me. It's just like he has a very strong character. You can see that he's very serious. I would have loved if this shadow was more sharper, but he's little bit soft on the softer side. If this was sharper like this, it would have given like a very good impact. So the cast shadow can play a big role in like showing the character. As we're saying now, like you have a hard shadow, that means like no, you're a very strong character. So that if you see like sports photography and all, you will have this kind of lighting, like split lighting, most of them more contrast and all, to show that they have been very strong or something. And then there's this example, how shadows can be very creative. So this was Dracula. I think Dracula came on Amazon Prime, maybe Prime Video. It is there. So they have this hoarding actually. So in the daytime, that hoarding, you see it like that, like those wooden, like the arrows are inside the, and there is some blood which is coming up. When as we it becomes in the night, it shows that Dracula shadow actually, and this is a real hoarding actually. This was quite creative how they did it. That light, it helps to make that shape of the Dracula with those poles actually. So you can play a lot in the shadows, and you can make those different creative things. And we were talking about yesterday on one of the Bao's image, that shadow is there. We were talking about it because you can tell story with the shadow also. I think, yeah. So anyone has any question on the shadow part?
Actually, Swapnil, in that beach photography, in the reflection and the shadow things, no?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, why? If we change the position of the light, the reflection and the shadow will change their position too.
Reflection will not change the position. The shadow will
Okay.
change the position. Even
Okay.
though reflection is more about, see, if you see, no, like, I will tell you one thing. I think if you see a blink shader, like blink shader, you see this, like there is a specularity. There is a specular thing which is happening. So the specular is what actually? The specular is the reflection of the light.
Okay.
So
Mm.
the if the light itself it moves, the reflection will move, but then the intensity is not that much, right? You won't be able to make out. But then the sun moves that side, definitely shadow will move, but then it is very difficult for the reflection source to move a lot. That's why you won't feel that much. But then yeah, definitely it can move a bit, but then because there are lot many light sources,
Mm.
we if the object was such, now we were just seeing the spot, like uh here we see a reflection of sky actually, we don't see a reflection of the sun. So
Okay.
that sky is like very huge, right?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So if that sky has moved a lot, like like half the sky is dark and half the sky is bright, where you can see a line over here and here is there is no reflection, then it can obviously make a difference. But then the light source itself is so huge that reflection of the sky is like no, even though it moves, we cannot make out, right? But
Okay.
then yes, If the object itself, that reflection is actually reverse, the light it is blocking, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then even this dark is reflecting here.
Okay.
So if the object moves, then only that reflection will move.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, even though like the source moves a lot, maybe some changes will happen, but how that pattern is happening, like the pattern of this is totally like it's a mirror, right? Like how you see the object in the mirror, this is something which happens in the reflection. So if there is some specularity which is happening, it is the reflection of the light which is happening. you
Okay.
know the higher spot are the reflection of light, and but the
Mm-hmm.
shadow, obviously it will totally depend upon where the light source is.
Okay. Okay. I get
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to depth of field. Okay. Yeah, so there is this ball and then there is ladybug on top. I don't know why it's happening like that. I don't know how to. Okay, now it is okay. Okay, so there is a ladybug and there is a ball. So to help us to know, like even though there is overlapping, we will feel some depth, but then defocus can help you in getting more depth like this. Uh, this is something which doesn't happen a lot in our eyes, but then it does happen in the photography. It does happen at some amount when you're trying to focus on an object, but the camera will have more like more defocus which is happening, which our eyes cannot do. But then, as we know, like we have been seeing so many photographs and movies, and we see this defocus happening, and then we can relate to depth. Like this object is in front, and then this isn't. Even the front object can be defocused. So it is not about like like this object is sharp that it means it is in front. No, it can be defocused and it can be in front. So it is about the focal plane where we set it. But then it helps us to understand, like there is a defocused object means maybe it is far or it is out of the focus. That's why it is like that. So our mind can see that no, the focus plane is here, and the focus plane is not in focus over here. So that's why that defocus will help you in the depth, and it helps a lot actually. And when you go to the like doing a shots, this is one of the major way of getting depth is defocusing. But then there are some factors you have to take into consideration when you are doing defocusing. You cannot have a defocused image like when there is like long shot. Someone mid and close up shots will have more defocus, and when there is a landscape or something, like you don't see that much defocus. The portraits will have more defocus. So let's see some of the examples. Okay, so here we can see like there are different lenses which has been used, like 70 mm, 135 mm, and 200 mm. So there are like different depth of field which is happening here. So 70 mm has more depth of field. So what is depth of field? The amount of area it can like no the it can cover and not like defocusing. So this has a deep depth of field, and this one has a shallow depth of field. Okay. So 70 mm, because 70 mm, you don't have to maybe like no, 70 mm will be like uh, it will be more far away from you. Like the object will go more far away from you. So when you have like something like 200 mm, it will have more depth of it, because when you are trying to cover this object, even depends upon what f-stop you use. No, so that's why like the higher the number in the lens, you will get more depth of field option, and lower the number, the depth of field will be lesser. So, but then it also depends of what kind of f-stop you use. This is just an example I wanted to show. And you can see also there's some bokehs which is happening. Bokeh, bokeh. There is some thing like some people they call bokeh, but I think bokeh is the correct word. It's a Japanese word for these patterns which happens, and it means blur. See, we are talking about deep and shallow. So deep, when someone says no, this should have a deep depth of field, it means this, that you can see more objects in focus at more distance. And when there is something which is shallow, it means there are less object in focus. You know, the focus region is smaller and the focus region is bigger over here. Is another example of depth of field, and it can help you in like the macro photography. You know, the things will look more like the smaller when you use more defocus. Just an example of bokeh which is happening here. And yeah, this bokeh is more about like no the lens opening which is there, which is creating those patterns. This is also one of the example, and these patterns are very interesting. They are like beauty elements. When you are using those, you can make your shot look really good because of these patterns which happens. Though they look more like stars or like something like glitters, right? So that's why they are like very interesting. Now there's some depth of field which is happening. We can see that things are quite sharp. It is focused on this object, the character, and then you can see there is a soft aging which is happening. So it is start building. Same like fog. As it goes behind, it will be more defocused. And then as it goes here, you can see some of the bokeh which is happening here, the patterns of the bokeh. This is the focus plane, what we're talking about. Like this is the region where it is in focus. So the region which is out of focus is this part in front and that part behind. So that's why those will get blurred. It will get defocused. And here is an example of how gradually depth of field is like it's going away from the depth of field and it is defocusing. Here you can see that even that ball is become like a bokeh here. So whenever you have chance, please use it. But definitely you need to see what kind of shot it is. If it is this kind of shot, yes, definitely you can get some more defocus happening and that beauty part comes. But then if it is like too far or like no, it is not a close-up shot. Yeah, I'll just talk about this. For some reason, I feel this is wrong because of the sharp edges which is happening and it's having a lot of defocus. Maybe he exaggerated the defocus. So you should be very careful that see this is like a mid shot. This is not like a very close up or tight close up shot. If it was tight close up, like no, I was seeing his eyes over here, like the face close up over here, and then this defocus could have worked. So what we do in like most of the defocus we do it in comp in nuke or something like that, and we should know how much defocus to be given so that it is realistic and it works according to the lens and the camera. Like if it is a mid shot, then definitely you would not have. See, moreover, if you see here, this one works better because this is a mid shot and this is also mid shot. See, there is a difference, right? You cannot get that much defocus which is happening here. So that's why you should be very careful in doing things. In camera, you will get automatically, but when you're doing in nuke, you should know how much it should go. I think that is something when you're adding a defocus, you have to see and feel that, like, oh, this is looking right or wrong. and you should be able to understand that, yeah, this can happen and this much is enough, or this much is too much, that no, this is not. So if you do too much, it will look like a blur BG. It will not look like a defocused BG. Yeah. So this is the, and yeah. So defocus has like a lot of other things. Let's see. Okay. So defocus can help us a lot in focusing onto the character's emotions, what he's thinking and all, because other things are not that important, and the camera is actually focusing on the character itself, and we can see his emotions and all. Similarly here, I like this, that there are some speculars which is created because he's sad, and like obviously there is some tears which is built up, and you see his reflective eyes and some pattern of this, and then same thing we can see here in terms of bokeh which is happening here. And that's why that somewhere you can like help in storytelling, like those patterns, they look beautiful, but sometimes you can like relate to these eye speculators which is happening to the background patterns, and it can help you in focusing on the face. Rest everything is defocused, and that's why you can feel that emotion in this thing. Same here. This was what I was talking about. If this was that close up, that previous image would have worked with that much defocus. And same, yeah, we can focus on the character's eyes here. See, other things are like defocused, and we know where to see actually. So this is something like the, if you see this painting, we have this term called like hard edges versus soft edges. See, these are like soft edges which is happening. So in painting, they say like hard edges versus soft edges. When there is some object which is in focus, it will have a hard edge, and when it is out of focus, it will have a soft edge. So this is the same thing, but it is in painting. We just call it as hard or soft edges. Now let's come on to, and this is about rec focus. Anyone knows what is rec focus? And this is very important because we are into animation. We need to know it. Anyone on rec focus?
The changing the depth in between of the shot, that
Yeah,
focal point.
yeah, changing the focal point, and this is what it is not there in photography. This is completely in cinematography, because in photography just one frame, right? But then a rec focus which is happening. So in this scene, what is happening is like maybe she's talking something, and that's why she's been focused. And after some time, maybe he's doing something, or like he's looking at something, and then he's in focus. That change of focus, a plane which is happening. See this focus plane which shifts actually when we do rec focus. And here it's a very old, this is I think this is Knick-Knack. That is the short film, the first short film maybe Pixar has done. Maybe it's the second one, yeah, maybe. So here what we see, there is this character which is in focus here in this part, and then after some time you see this there is some object which is in focus, and then we see a defocused a baby over here who is approaching, and then we see the baby uh, which is seeing this object, and now the baby is in focus. So this is called as rec focus, changing the focus from one object to another and then to another. So how that is done, there is a separate person to do that actually usually. So they will take care that the focusing is there on the right object at the right time. And this is like it's quite complicated when you are shooting something and then you have to change the focus from one object to another, and then you have to check so many other things. So there's some other person who is actually only focusing and doing those rag focus, and like always seeing that character is in focus when he's moving. So yeah, this whenever like there is a shot, some director will ask you, oh, we might have to do rag focus on this. So when they say rag focus, it means this. Okay, this term it will come when you are working on a shot on a movie or something, and they will say, oh, we need to have a rag focus. This is somewhere you can see, that like the edges are little softer. They are not that hard because of the defocusing which is happening. It actually softens the edges and it helps in the storytelling. This is a soft mode, more like a romantic mode, and that's why like there's no sharp edges. Everything is like no dreamy sequence, and that's why it will help you in storytelling somewhere when it's come to. If you go more towards the more horror genre, this is a more the shot from Orphan, and if you move to more horror genre, you will not see more of depth blur which is happening in the scenes. Even here, you don't see that depth blur a lot. There is like very minimal. They try not to do it due to one reason is, see, if you see the whole frame, they want viewer to be always thinking something is going to come from here or something is going to happen from there. So it makes a lot of sense for them to keep that very deep focus. They don't want to focus only on this, but they want us to be like, no, always being disturbed by other things. And you should always feel that something will come from here. That more detailing in the frame helps them to actually create that creepy kind of image. So, so I have seen that in the horror movies, you will not have that defocus happening. And yeah, depth of field is totally dependent upon two factors. One is the focus region, and then f-stop. So less the number of f-stop, you will have more defocus happening because the lens will open more. We talked about f-stop in some of the previous session, that when you have a wider lens opening, you will have more rays coming inside, and more the rays, it will help you into blur the edges actually and blur the image more. So if the opening is less, it will be more sharper. So if you want to get something more sharper, you should understand that f-stop should be less. The less the f-stop, f-stop number is more, sharper the image. F-stop number is less, it can get more defocused. So that option is there. And then so whenever you need to actually make defocus in your new, you will have that setting of f-stop, and you can, when you change that, you will get more defocus. And then also there is a depth of field option where you can set the point where you want the focus to be happening. Any questions on this one?
Clear on that.
Okay, I think this is clear, right? Like anyone has any question, like, because this is more about lenses, and you need to understand, like you need to see like how the defocus work, and then you can replicate that in your scenes. And this is whenever you get a shot, and if it is a close up or mid shot, you have an option. First thing you should think about, what will be in the focus and what will not be in the focus, and just use that. It will beautify your image a lot. So yeah, we are done with the depth of focus. Let's move on to scale versus position. So what do you see here? People can like try to explain what is happening here. Like what is happening in the first image, what is happening in the second image, what is happening in the third image. What do you feel here? You people can talk now. Anyone?
So the thing is happening in the third picture is actually what you wanted, what the image wanted to tell is that it has there should be difference between these both subject, right? So that we are trying to move the like yeah scaling and positioning the objects to
Yeah.
to show the distance between the characters.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, correct. So basically what is happening here is like, this is not the right way to do things. First thing, like you have a bigger object and it is placed on a ground plane. It is above the, like, no, above this character. So somewhere it is not correct. It can mean that, this object is near, but then he maybe is tiny, and this object is far and he is huge maybe, and that's why the audience will not understand what is happening here. So this is not the right way of positioning and scaling the things. Again here, they are on the same line. Okay. So that depth cannot be felt even if like they can be on same line, but if the angle is such that uh you feel this one is in front and this one is in, even though this one is in front and this is behind, you can feel that maybe he's smaller than this guy. It is scaled down and it's not like distance. So it is always better to position this way. The bigger objects, it should come like below, and when it goes far, it should come on top. So this is a way of showing a depth actually, how you can show the depth. So that positioning will help you. Obviously, we're not scaling, but then the perspective will do its own scaling of the object. When it goes far, it will be smaller, and when it comes in front, it will be more bigger. And so yeah, this is the thing. Then we'll just move to the examples. So here you can see there is one character. I did not find too many examples for this, but then at least you can feel that, this guy is in front and he's behind, and that depth is working. Also, there is defocus, which is helping us to determine there is a depth in these two things. This is a little bit different example compared to what we were saying, that no, when these people are smaller, they look like scaled down a bit, but then the story point is there here. It's like this guy is actually helping this family to fight against some like wrong elements in the society. So Ishwan is a very huge character, like a strong, huge character who is going to help them. So that's why this works actually in this scene. Even though it doesn't help a lot in actually visual depth, but then in the story point of time, it is somewhat, it's a nice composition to show like, no, when there's someone who is like, huge, even though you see that, he's very close actually to the camera, that's why he's so huge. But then the framing is such that we feel that no, he's going to take care of them. He's the one who's going to take care of them. And this is very funny actually. So you see this hobbit. So these people are hobbit people, the smaller people, and he's Gandalf, and he's quite huge. Compared to like normal human, he's very huge, and compared to normal human, they are like very short. But then they have used some trick into doing this. Is this? So actually, see, the camera is here, and it's very close to the camera, and they have splitted this table actually to fake that. So what is happening actually is his table is far away and his table is near. So just like it is blended between the two tables. That's why you feel like there is one table, but actually there are two tables like this. that thing. There is this teapot which is here, and that's why that perspective scaling which happens here. But then we are tricked into seeing that, oh, this is one table, they are on the same, same distance, but they are not actually here. So if there was a cast shadow here down on the ground, we could have made it out. Like, no, he's in front and he's far behind. But what we see, both are in the same plane. And see here, you cannot use defocus again. If you use defocus out, definitely would have make out that he's getting defocused. So they have to make all those changes, to take all those points into consideration, and to get that trick done in the cinematography. This is a nice example where it's in close up and then there are some characters behind to show that depth happening. So we are talking about the scaling, which is having, we are maybe then sometime in animation we have an option of scaling down, but in real life we don't have that. You cannot scale down a character unless you go to post and do those things, but then we don't do it. Yeah. But sometimes in animation we do scaling sometimes, just to exaggerate some depth of field or depth which is happening. So that positioning which is happening here and the character which is there now, you can feel there is a depth between, there is a distance between the character, because just because of the position in the scaling. See, we were talking about the same example, different scale of the object of the character, but in the same line. And it doesn't help actually. It looks like she's a very huge monster and then these people are very small. But when they are positioned in the right places, you feel that there is a depth. The scale is same, just the position is moved now. And you feel that okay, she's in front and rest everyone is going behind. So that scaling and position should be in such a way that it should be placed to feel the depth, and it can help in the depth. Okay, we'll talk about this one. We have seen a lot of trick photography happening this way. So in this kind of scenario, you will see that the character, they will try to push it down as much as possible. If this character would have gone on top, you could have seen different, like you would not feel that trick happening. So they will always push the characters down, like the ground plane will go down more. It will not have that kind of perspective which is happening. So they are coming almost on the same level. That's why you feel that she's huge and these people are small, and this is what it is used in the trick photography. Same thing here which is happening. Even though you can see, there is like somewhere it is failing when there is some cast shadow which is happening, and you can feel that this cast shadow is like in front and behind. So somewhere you can feel that, but then it takes time for you to come and see that there is that distance between these two shadows. And somewhere you feel here, this is the same thing again. If this she was overlapping, you would have made out that he's behind. But here we can just see, no, he's on just on the same plane, same distance. Just because of the shadow we can make it out. Yeah, but still it is successful somewhere where the positioning is like no nearby, like not exactly in the same level, but like just nearby. They tried to do that. It will only work in some angle only. When the camera is low down, then only it will work. Here is another example. Here what we see is like they try to actually put those character on on this higher sitting position, just that they were not able to frame it that way how they wanted it. This character was important, and you see that the angle is little from down because you can see the below of the head side which is happening here. And then you can then if you place the camera down like this, you then the character will be here, right? So that's why they ask them to sit on this. So there is this scaling option which is happening, that he's big, they are small. Okay. Also, it helps to show his position as one of the dominant person, and then even the depth is working here. Yeah, I think I'm done with this. So if you have any questions on anything, you can tell. But obviously, I have to cover, like I have covered overlapping, fog, ground shadows, depth of field, scale and position, and yeah, we can talk a bit about perspective before, like uh, going forward. Like, but I will be teaching perspective again though, and yeah, you have any questions on any of the part, like which what we have discussed till now? Because we have time like 45 minutes now, like we can spend some time on talking different things, and whatever has been covered we can always talk about it. Any of the previous topics, or everything is clear for you people?
It's clear actually.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I try to be like no more elaborate when trying to talk about things, so there are less questions in mind. But then yeah, I think we can talk about somewhat, like I don't have much example. I actually don't have any example, but then I can talk about what is perspective and all. Can you people tell what is perspective? Like how many types of perspective are there actually? No one? There is one perspective type over here also actually.
This is 2 point perspective, right?
Uh, I'm sorry, Pujita?
There are 3 points of perspective. So I think this is second perspective. 2 point perspective.
It's more one point of perspective. But yeah, Pallavi want to say something. Yeah. Pallavi?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a 1 point perspective.
Yeah, it's one point perspective here. So usually what happens is the lines you see, no, it meets to one point, and then it's like one point perspective. So there is something called one point perspective. Sorry, I don't have slides, but then I'm going to even like, because this is a very little bit tougher kind of subject in terms of like how it is done. So I would like to like wanted to have it as a separate session, but then this is one point perspective, which happens is a similar situation what we see here. No, this is one point perspective where the lines go and meet to one point, and I will actually show how to create those actually, so you will know exactly how to build one point perspective. And then there is something called 2 point perspective. Yeah, this is what Pujita was talking about the 2 point perspective. So what happens here in 2 point perspective is okay, they're telling how to draw the, it's good, but then that everything goes and meet to 2 points, like the line is coming from one point and then other one is coming from another point, and this is how the object is built. See, in 2 point what happens is like you can see these vertical lines are straight, but then when it these lines are like in angle, there is some angle to the top and below lines, the edges which is there, and that bending which is happening. The perspective is about like the bending, the angle which happens. It is not 90 degree. It is always like less than 90 degree which happens here. and then the horizontal, the vertical lines are like perfectly parallel, but these lines are not parallel, and they go and meet to the one of the point on this side on the horizon. This is the horizon actually. You know what is horizon, right? Like the where the sun rises, it's called as horizon. And then those points are taken into consideration. There are a lot of things I will show when actually I'll be showing how to build those 1.2 point perspective. But then this is called as 2 point perspective. When actually in 2 point perspective, you can see more of two sides. Like if you see here, you don't see like more of two sides. You see more of one side of it. You don't. Here you can see a bit though, but then in 2 point perspective, you will see it more. And these lines go and meet to 1 point. That's why it is 1 point perspective. And then there is something, and but I think moreover we use 2 point perspective. We use less of one perspective, and we hardly use 3 point perspective. But then it exists actually. So this is like 3 point perspective, and it is more used in like building drawings, the huge scales. This is 3 point perspective, which is happening, and there is something huge. So how it is built. So you see that there are 3 points which is happening here, uh, and then it creates that box. See, there are no lines which are parallel. Everything is in angle. So in 3 point perspective, it's all exaggerated. No, and they say it is wrong. But yeah, obviously it is wrong here. But then in 1 point perspective, what happens is like the face which is always the face is near to you. Like the one face will be near to you, like this face. It is near to us, and the other like the edges will bend. If you say like no, there is one box, and you put a camera, and the total face is then it will be like completely flat towards you, like this point, this point, this point, and this point. All these 4 point will be equidistant from you. That is the time this 1 point perspective will happen. If you take 2 point perspective, what happens is like one edge is near to you. Like when you're seeing an object from one edge, like if you're going on like near a building, and if you come across one corner of the building, then this 2 point perspective will happen. So you're near to one edge, and when it goes to 3 point perspective, you are near to one point, like the vertex. If you have a cube, that the vertex is near to you, and that is the time this 3 point perspective will happen. See here, you can see a point is near to you, the vertex is near to you here. So I will show you how to construct it in next sessions though, and it is quite interesting, and you should know that like how that perspective happens. And this is something which is also there in terms of like the receding lines, like the lines which is moving towards the horizon. You can feel that depth, like because of that understanding of ours. We have always seen this, right, in nature, that there are some buildings, and then there are some lines, the tiles and all the lines are moving towards the horizon. That is why this perspective will always make you feel that there is some distance between the objects. And see, there is a car here, here, and here. There is some line actually from this to this. So that is why the similar objects will also create that kind of depth, and it will create that line which is happening. The Obviously, the footpath is actually a continuous line, but even the trees will be a part of it. Even here you can see actually. So this is perspective which is happening in this one, and we have to try to get those lines. If you have lines in your scene, automatically you will get depth, and it is a very good visual element. Yeah, Pujita, tell me.
Just want to ask that usually we see when in perspective that the points are never like in the scene, right? They are always outside the frame. So, like, is that done on
Um,
purpose? Like,
what do you mean by outside the scene? You mean like here, like if
so
you.
the
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like the points, like the meeting points, even if you see in a 2 point or you see in a 3 point, even
Mm-hmm.
out here in the first point, you can't see the ending point, right? The horizon line, or you can't see the line meeting at that point, right?
Yeah, it's
So
like
usually it's outside the screen, right? That kind
I
of
think if it
the
is like,
point is placed outside.
yeah, it depends, like, no, but I think in 2 point, it is really hard to have this point inside the scene. Yeah, because if you have those point here and here, the
Hmm.
amount of bending it will happen, it will be so extreme. Like you can have it unless the camera choice what you make. you know if you say like, no, if there is a like fish eye, fish eye lens, maybe in that,
Hmm.
if you say fish eye perspective, you see here is so much bending. And I think in
Yeah.
only this kind of scenario you will be able to have that uh, lines inside the, like those point inside the scene, see,
Points. Hmm.
bending so much, that fish eye lens. But I think so this is something which we hardly do. Maybe
Hmm.
there is some insect who his point of view is there, and then we can have that. So I think for the normal human vision we don't have the points on the horizon to be inside the scene. The only point which can be there inside, maybe like in 1 point and maybe in 3 points sometime, because even 3 point we were checking, right? Like 3 point we have
Yeah.
this so much of bending which is happening, like you see here. And
Hmm.
yeah, see here also, like it depends, like
The
if
point
they
is,
had
yeah.
covered this
Hmm.
completely. But then the problem is that there's so much bending which happens in the scene, that distortion. uh, I think if you know how in VFX, there is this distortion thing which happens, and they that bending, that the circular thing, usually it has been fixed in post sometimes, just to not have that much distortion, because human vision will not have that much distortion, and it will be away from actual human vision. So, and so usually what I know is like in VFX we fix that distortion first, and then we render the CG elements without the distortion, and then again we add it back to match it. And this is something which happens in VFX movies actually. But the lenses will have that distortion anyways, because uh, what happens is like the lenses are curved. So when it comes near the edges, it will
Hmm.
start bending more, and they'll be having some more issues like um, what is that? Uh, Fringing effect, which happens on the lenses, and it happens more on the edges, and then even the bending will happen more on the edges, and that is something which is not actually good for, like, no, our, even for our renders it is not good for the photography. But then it is an effect and or a defect which has been used.
Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, in the next session I'll be actually talking about the perspective building, like how to. And so yeah, any more questions? Like, we have an half an hour, we can speak about anything, or we can talk about any other topic, because I don't want to, like, get too many things happening and then everyone forgetting what we talked about. I can talk a bit about the eye movement thing, so that, no, because it's a very huge topic, like, uh, so anyone knows, like, principles of design? Anyone has gone through like what is the principles of different design which is there? And this is not covered more into, like, no, when people teach lighting, but it's more about art and all. But then it does help a lot when you know it, you know. So there are like different principles of designs. Oh my god, what where I reached. Mhm. So I'll be actually uh, teaching that part also, a principle of designs. And so there are different, like balance is there, scale and proportion, repetition, rhythm, emphasis, unity. Then there's isolation. No, they have talked about some of them. And anyone knows any of the principle who can explain me? Like I told you, like these are the different principles. Anyone on principle of design? Anyone has come across it anytime?
No.
Okay, so this is more about one of the thing. Yeah, Pallavi. Yeah, she's come across it, but yeah, she can tell. We have some of these, which is here, and
Hello.
yeah, tell Pallavi.
Yeah, actually, in design space, balance is very important, and also the proportion of
Hmm.
object.
Yeah.
Spacing is very important
Hmm.
between two object or to anything. Spacing is very important, like in typography or lighting or any kind of in art or design.
Yeah.
And moreover, balance. Yes, balance is balance is kind of like the um, what I am saying, like balance. According to balance, it's depend on I. Okay,
Yeah.
I think so. So
Yes.
yeah, balance is very important. Like with colors, with any kind of anything. It's a balance image, like some kind of in a image when we saw. This is like a feeling like it's a balanced image. It's kind of everything is balanced.
Yeah.
So it's a
Definitely.
very important.
Yeah. So basically, there are like different principles of design, and what she said is correct. Usually, balance is one of the element of design. When you're doing composition, the composition should have a balance. And the easiest way of doing balance is like using symmetrical design. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so if you see like the symmetry, like no, our body is like symmetrical design. No, half side this side and half, and that's why this we can see then no, there is a symmetrical design. The butterfly is a symmetrical design. You can see that the half side is this and this. It matches when there is a line between it. So these are the all the example of how the symmetrical designs are actually. Even the Batman is a symmetrical design. So, for example, when you are doing a symmetrical composition, you can have two characters facing each other, and you will feel there is a symmetry. You know, as soon as something is shifted like this, there is a asymmetrical design. It becomes a little difficult to compose, and that's why we should know how to balance it, because you will not have symmetrical design, and also symmetrical designs are not that interesting. That's why like the balance, I will talk more about like no and how to actually use that different objects to balance things, and to achieve this we need to do so many things to get balance happening. Okay. Also, the composition should have contrast. Contrast in terms of like obviously the contrast between the color, contrast between the values, and the good composition, good image will have that also. And then there is emphasis. Emphasis is something like we talked about, like giving more value to certain object, like we are emphasizing on some object to balance. Again, that emphasis will also help to balance. Okay, contrast will also help to balance. So like it is interrelated in some way. Even contrast will help you to balance. Sorry, emphasis also. See, there is a kind of contrast in color, right? So that emphasis is happening on this. So we say like no that like something like a golden point, or we give too much value to certain object, to give that value to that, we are emphasizing that. So this is one of the point. And there is movement, and this is somewhere that movement will be there. We are talking about eye movement, that movement will happen when you see similar objects, similar values, similar shapes, and then it is placed in a certain way that your eye tends to move around it. And but then obviously you need to have this to get the movement. Otherwise, it will not happen also. So everything is interrelated between each other. So we'll be talking about that. And then there is rhythm. So rhythm can happen when there is like no similar objects, and then they are like in a certain place, in a certain way, that it is more rhythmic. Okay. For me, hierarchy is little new subject. I have not gone through it anytime, but then definitely it is something about like no, hierarchy is something about we have certain things like no, which is top most important, and less important thing. So you can have that in your design. Then there is a white space they are talking about. This is about negative and positive space. So the character is always positive, and the background, if it is like more like no, if there are less object and all, and there is no information, then it becomes like a more negative space. And how to balance a negative space is a way, like by positioning a positive object in a certain way to balance the negative space. So we'll also see that. And then there is unity. So whatever you do in your scene, your scene should have unity in terms of love. No, it should be binding together. Yeah, Mijita, tell me.
Yes, so I think all these elements, like I come from a graphic background as well, so yeah, I think all these elements are quite relatable. And talking about negative spacing and positive spacing, like I think negative spacing can work very interestingly when you kind of
Yes,
want to have a short lighting or something like that. So negative spacing also adds in a lot of value to the character if you go to see. So I really like that, and that can be included in compositing a scene. So whenever you're
yes,
doing any kind
exactly.
of short depiction, or if you want to highlight the protagonist also, these kinds of things can be used for.
Yes,
So
definitely.
emphasis also we can use in sort of a spotlighting way also, like
Perfect.
having the
Yeah.
character within a spotlight.
Hmm.
So I think that's how we can use these design elements. Like coming from a graphic background, I think that helps me a lot, and
Yes, I
uh,
think
I understand.
I think I did my
Yes.
art college, and this is the first thing which they taught me, and I was like, I'm using it all the time. Like
Mm,
even though like in even in lighting, no one talks about it, but then somewhere it is there. It is just
yeah, it somehow stays.
shown in a very different way. Like the grids what we
Well,
used in composing is different to what the grids are there here. Like we have a simple grid here, like no, just like 2 by 2 division grids what we do. But then I have seen like three by 5 and three by
yeah.
three. I think all those grids are there. Like no, when you are doing that, and just because I
Mm.
think because of cinematography, the grid which is used is being fixed to cinematography and photography. It is, but then I will not mind if we have a different grids also. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
people who has gone through some graphic designing courses and all will understand this more. But then this is
Also, one more thing I wanted to share, something funny is
yeah,
defocus really works when people have specs. So So
I'm
I
sorry.
think people with
Specs.
defocus really
Yeah.
works when people have specs. So if you see things without your
Oh
specs, you can see
yes.
defocus very clearly.
Very unfortunately,
So
I
yeah,
don't wear specs, so I cannot say like.
so that's an interesting thing.
Oh yes, this is very interesting what you told. Like no, I never thought about it. Actually, no, I never thought. Like no, I've never been in the shoes of a person who wears specs, and I think definitely it works. Yeah. So can you like put more light onto that? Because for me,
I think
I have
even like
near to
for
perfect
people,
vision, near to perfect, because one eye of my has
luckily,
some little bit of number, but it is not that much that
yeah.
it doesn't concern me a lot. Yeah, never has a spec actually. So can you share like what is the difference between having a specs and not having a specs?
Yeah, so I think few
No, no,
people
it's
having like a like positive and negative number. So it
mm-hmm.
depends. As in when you have like a positive number, you can see in close by things like
Okay.
quite blurred, and then the negative goes in the backside goes blurred. So
Oh,
it depends like what kind of negative or positive number you have. So that way, I think once like when you were going through defocus, you said it's not applicable for eyesight. Like generally, your eyesight doesn't see it that way. So
mm,
but
yeah.
yeah, if you have a number in your like if you have specs and you have a number, it generally affects and you can see defocus often. Like
Okay.
it depends on your number.
Very, very interesting actually, because never thought about it. I think
Yeah,
what I can understand from your explanation is like why we use specs is to put one more lens to fix that.
fix that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. To get that image to be
to
more
get
sharper
the
now.
image
Yeah.
sharper. Yes, yes.
So you mean like if you use a negative number, if is it's like what is that number actually? Negative number or positive number? Is it like a focal length
It's
or
like I
like
am not sure. It is because if you see as we explain the region of depth of field, when
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
explain the region of depth of field, you could see the front as blurred and the back as blurred
Yeah.
as well, having a
Yes,
center
you
vision,
have that
right?
field of view. Yeah.
So yeah, so usually like a negative number gets you, I think, gets you the front portion. No, sorry. The positive number gets you the front portion to be blurred, and the negative is the back portion to be blurred.
Okay. So
I hope I've not switched it.
somehow you
It's
get limited to the focal distance, like
focal.
that's why like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
some people will have a focal distance which is near to you, near to the camera, and
Right.
some people will have focus distance. So maybe this is something which is like, like I'm just wondering like how you people must be seeing the world, like I'm really interested, but I don't want to spoil my eyes though. But then yeah, it is like, like I think it's a very good storytelling element actually. If someone is with the vision which is restricted to the like negative number or a positive number, we can show the world like that, because it's and I till
Yeah.
now, and even I was specifying that, oh, this doesn't happen with the human eye, and I was telling that this is one. But then thank you for telling this. This I need to think about as a storytelling, yeah, a lot of people want to speak on
Even
this.
if even if the character has an aspects, I think that works.
Yeah, I just saw one shot like in Spider-Man which happens, right? That he's seeing the blur, and
Mm.
but then they never
Yeah.
show
Mhm.
something like, no, you see some part in sharp and some part in, they just showed everything
Right.
as blur.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just thinking that you just see blur. I was not thinking that you see
No,
some
no,
part sharp.
no.
Okay, nah,
Yeah,
okay.
we see sharp.
See, this
Yeah.
is this is what you see through yours. I cannot experience at all because it is never shown.
Right.
Yeah, so it is very new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other people wanted to, like 3-4 people wanted to talk about this actually. Very nice explanation. I really enjoyed this, Pujita. Yeah, tell. Ankit, Ankit, Tyaga. I think 2 people wanted to speak about it. Yeah.
Actually, whiskey is also a good example for defocus. I hope so.
What is?
Whiskey and vodka.
See, again, I tell you, I have no experience.
Oh, again.
Again, I have no experience. Like, what do you people want me to do? Tell me.
You should try. You can't like what? Take experience of specs, but you can take experience of these things, no? And
Okay,
you are
but
in
then,
Canada.
okay, now I have to ask you what happens. Is a question.
You are
What
in
happens?
Canada, so for winter it will be helpful for you also, no?
No, no, I'm like, how does it help? Like, how things get blurred
Like yeah,
after?
you can control the like yeah, defocus
Oh, really?
after 4 or 5 shots.
Are you joking? Or is
No,
it real?
no, I'm serious about that. Like defocus.
Okay, so things become defocused after you
Yeah,
having whiskey.
yeah. After certain point, I hope so.
If I have to write a book,
I can tell you some example. I can give you some visual
oh
links
my
of any
God,
shot we have.
this
I'll
is
send you the link.
yeah. Please, please, please. I think that example you should post in this thing. Like this is, I never even imagined that. I used to do something which is like so abstract right now.
I'll send you the.
I'm sorry. This is like very personal for everyone. I don't want to ask question to anyone. But at least you told, okay, the whiskey does that. Okay, fine. Ankit, you wanted to tell something? अंकित आपको कुछ बोलना था okay Ankit is out maybe yeah but I think that this was like so amazing I cannot believe yeah like I see I myself learned so much thing but then it's just not defocus somehow okay Nikhil is saying that it is not defocus
See, that's more precise.
it's chromatic aberration I really don't know my god okay okay so yeah please research onto that and come to me tell me that is it defocus or is it chromatic aberration which happened oh my god whiskey uh but yeah I don't know that moving to okay Ankit you have some issue with your sound actually oh okay so do you mean by moving means like motion blur like motion blur are you talking about motion blur because Ankit is talking about some moving when you move there is some defocus but I think we call it as motion blur then not defocus okay there's so many things we can actually discuss about motion blur is there you know and yeah anything you people want to talk about this was so funny Sarang
Nothing, but is it the same difference between CG and VFX?
after drinking everything is moving okay sorry tell Sarang
Defocus is the same definition in CG and VFX, or is
yeah
it different?
it is same there is no difference I think defocus is something which is not in focus. That is the thing. So yeah, because we in VFX also we have camera, and CG also we have camera. And but then now I have to also think about. I'm not sure about the whiskey, but definitely with the specs, it does happen. And yeah, who is Pranjal? Pranjal, you want to talk about something? We have 15 minutes. We can talk anything now. Or if you people want to like finish this, we can finish also.
Okay, one thing I wanted to ask about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think about the image description
Mm-hmm.
where the character had green light on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, so, uh, so the lighting theory is different between comics and movies, because in comics, I think Green Lantern represents green color as will, power of will.
Yeah. Yes. We can talk about colors because it comes to colors now. Actually, we are also going to cover colors, and color is a very very vast subject. Okay, I'll just put some like no pointers onto the color. How like first thing, color is an experience. Okay, like how like Pujita was saying about the people who can wear specs will know like that defocus which is happening. Similarly, everyone has their own vision. Your yellow can be different to my yellow. Your green can be different to my green. And there is no way we can find out that what you see in the green is same green to me. Okay. Because we can recognize the same value. We both can recognize the same hue, but maybe what we see, how we perceive it can be very different. Maybe your green is more towards blue, and my green can be more towards yellow. you know so we don't know who sees what, and I think that is the reason why we have our favorite colors. I like blue, some people may like more yellow, or some people may like more red, some people may like green. And I think it is all about how you perceive things, how you see first. And maybe you see yellow more like a red. I don't know right now. And there is no way we can find it out. So the colors are always experience. They are never to be shown as like, no, they are not reality. So they are just part of experience of a particular individual. Every individual have their own experience about the color. So it is really hard for anyone to create an image which will be liked by everyone. Some people, if you see, like, no, they like more of like, no, uh do you people know what is high key and low key? Anyone knows what is high key and low key images? Okay, I will explain then. Okay, Nikhil knows it, but then he cannot speak it out. Or okay, can you tell, Nikhil, or like your mic is not working? So basically, okay, I will explain it. So basically, high key is something which is like an um well lit image. There is light bouncing everywhere, and you see this very uh nice kind of uh light which is affecting. There is a global illumination and all. And then this is the kind of image which I like. Okay, but there is other people who like low key image, and low key image is something which is a very contrasting image, which is a hard light, hard shadow, darker shadows, mid tones being pushed into darks, highlights moved on the higher level. So there is this high key and low key image. So whenever you have images, either they are high key or low key. So this is how it is. So now we come to what you asked, like the green. and you say like, no, this is related to this and this is not related to that. As I know, like in India, I spoke about this. In India, red is auspicious. Red is related to like Hindu religion somewhere. It is related to no um like the red gulal we say and that kind of thing. But in the Western world, red is related with the danger, with the blood, you know. So we can have that difference of opinion between the viewers, you know. That's why now we come to this Green Lantern. I have no idea why they said it is Green Lantern, but they wanted to create that image of a Green Lantern. So I think green is something which I think they created that, you know, like they wanted to create that color with the strength. But I don't see it as a strength. Maybe they created there. Anyone can talk about this Green Lantern thing. Why you think like that is been portrayed as a green instead of any other color? Or it is just that someone said it is a Green Lantern. They never thought about the color aspect of it. And now when it came to movie or like, you know, like they thought like, no, we have to show it anyways. And that's why it happened. But anyone has any other opinion about it? Yeah, Pallavi has. Yeah.
I think green represent hmm, green represent hope, enthusiastic, according to color.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, red represent violent, uh, yellow better, like a little bit pale. Uh, that's it. That's for green represent the enthusiastic,
Mm-hmm.
hope. So that's why green lantern it's called.
Yeah,
I
but
think so. I'm
yeah,
not. It's
you
my.
said yeah, you said yellow pale, but then I said yellow is more towards like no joy. So I think there is a
Yeah,
difference
yellow
of
is. Yeah. Tell.
yeah, I think there is also a difference of opinion between like many people. Like no, like maybe someone can relate some color to another thing, and that is what I'm telling you. That's why like no, sometimes that color is a very difficult subject. You know, everyone can understand some color. Maybe like see people say like no, the red is a violent color, but maybe like that red can be used for like no better things also. You know that it totally depends upon what kind of place you come from or what kind of experience you had with that color, and that will reflect onto you when you see certain color. So I think that is again as I said, it can be your own human experience. We are going through like no this theory of colors, you know, like green means this, red means this and this, and then we are understanding theory. But is it your own beliefs that this color is this? No, we are superimposing others views on us to like because this is a theory right now, right? And I think that somewhere we are wrong also, that we are going through this color thing. And yeah, Pallavi, tell.
Yeah, actually, I mean, everyone has different perception. But according to my perception, I think so. That's it.
Okay, anyone feels green is like something to do with enthusiasm and something like that? I don't feel that. I think for me, something to do with the speed and will be like more like violet maybe. I think I feel that no, there is some energy in red and there is some coolness in blue, which mix together the purple and all. I feel that it has more energy for me. Instead of green is like very calm. For me, it's a green like I see green as a grass. I see green as like leaves, more fresh. Not like I want to run with green color. I cannot run with the green color. So how do you feel other people like when it compares to green? Like what do you see with the green? You people need to speak out, Pujita. Anyone? Who else is there?
I
Um,
think on movie, green represent little bit protagonist character, or I mean opposite character. I mean negative
Negative
space.
character. Yes, it has
Yeah.
been it has been established actually. That is the reason why it becomes little difficult. Biswajit, can you tell? Can you hear? Maybe I don't see anyone. Tyaga?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, Biswajit, tell me. Like, what do you feel about green color? Because this question, I think Sarang, you put forward that question, right? Like, why it is so?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Biswajit, can you say what do you see with green? What do you feel about green color?
Yeah, actually, I feel like green is and some enthusiast of color and some some attractive color also green also
Okay.
because
Very
and
interesting. See, everyone has a different opinion about the color, and this is why it
yes
is so
and
difficult. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't see any enthusiasm. I'm sorry, I cannot see it. I just see it as like something very natural, grass.
yeah,
It
also
is
it's like some natural color, and I have some opinion of like red color also. It's also some attractive someone for red color because we see like some Chinese restaurant also they using some red colors
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
So
Even the red color
it's
can.
my thing actually.
It is for appetite also. They called it like no.
Yeah.
If you see red color, you will
Yes.
feel more hungry. That is also the
Yeah. Yeah.
Pujita. Yeah, Pujita.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Yeah, so sorry.
It's
So I think each color has different depiction for everyone because I think everyone symbolizes with certain kind of colors also, right? And
yeah,
also watching Inside Out, I think green had a depiction out there called as disgust, right? So green can be considered as fungus or some kind of moss as well, right? So
yes, yes.
so it can be that way also. It depends on which object it is and how you characterize that green. So if you go darker on the green, it becomes more like disgust, and I think when you go brighter, it becomes more natural, more
Mhm.
fresh, more
Yeah,
that way. So I think even the hue and saturation matters in when you go with colors. So
yeah,
same color with different hue and different saturation means different things. So I think that way also you can depict color.
yeah. Ankit was saying that it's more about freshness, life, and
Mhm.
moving forward or something like that. I think yeah, green can be also related to
Green
growth.
also can be like a go sign, right? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you know,
yes, yes. It
so
is
it's
just
like
because
it's also
yes,
moving forward also. Yeah.
yes, green signal. Yeah, I never. Red is stop
Also, a
and green
green
is
take means something right. So yeah, like
green,
you're on
green.
the right path or something. That's
Yeah,
what. So
yeah, very, very
actually, it really
interesting.
depends on people to
See,
people.
compared to no what we are showing in the movie is Green is a bad character. It is completely opposite what we are thinking.
Right,
I think it is just
right.
because some people have come down and thought that Green is more poisonous or something like that or evil, and it has
Hmm.
been depicted. I think one of the thing which I now remember is in Hindu mythology, especially people from Kerala can say that no, I think that Kathakali, which has uh, green. I think green is Ravan. Is it so? I think green is Ravana, right? And yellow is Sita, and blue is Ram. Is it so? If I'm wrong, everyone knows what is Kathakali, right? Yeah. Yeah, but green is actually Ram. I don't remember. Yeah, yeah. Green is Ram. Okay, and then yellow is Sita, and then maybe red is Ravana. Yeah, it's quite funny though. So yeah, but then it is something like we depicted certain color in certain way. Okay, that's cool. That was a nice. Anyone wants to have a last word, and we can finish on this. And any, if you want to tell, like, no, any new topics we want to discuss in the next sessions, and all, because we just finished our 2 hours now. Final words from anyone? Any improvement what we can do, like any new topics we can include? And how was like having a Saturday session? And obviously Arjun and like three people are missing right now, but then I was telling this portion that we can have a co-host, um, because of the simple reason that no, it will ease out everyone, like next Saturday Arjun will be hosting and Pujita will be helping him to like host, like in some questions and some, like, maybe Pujita can just start with, no, no, okay, we'll be having like just like what part I'm doing now, and like you can like be there to tell, like where Arjun will be like hosting the thing, and then he'll be talking about this, and then he can start, and then you can help him out and something like that is what I meant by co-hosting. And you can add your points, you can speak more. And when it is a part when you have to host, there'll be someone else who will be helping you to like while hosting. So what do you think about this way of doing things?
Yeah, it's great. Like we can those type of hosting things. Like
Yeah, I think it is really nice for everyone to open up, and
yeah,
everyone has, like, this platform to talk with many people. Like we don't do that. Like for me, if you ask me, like, I was always in the leadership positions, and like in college, I was a class representative. I was been doing this for quite a long time. So for me, it is not very new. But I think most of the people will that when like there are more than one person, like you want to talk it, because when you are a center point and like everyone is looking at you, and this is what happens in the interview also, like there are more people and they are directing all questions to you, and you have to handle them. And you should see that no, you are answering to everyone, but then you have to keep them interested also. That is what you should learn. Like it is not about giving answers, it is more about how confident you are. Because now you said, they can ask, tell me about green, what it symbolizes. So everyone will have their own answers, right? So if you stumble in between of telling about, no, you know what, green, so it should not happen like that. It should mean green is the worst color, I don't like it. Even that you should say in confidence. That is what is more important. Okay, I think Pujita is leaving it. So we'll just call it out. Like, thank you so much. I will be like putting this recording anyways, and thank you so much. See you then, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Swapnil, and really had a nice session today. Thank you
Yeah,
for
so many points. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you very much, Swapnil.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank
bye.
you.
Bye, Sattu.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye 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 bye.
bye.